The mountains of the Larian Triangle range from the Corni di Canso to Monte San Primo. In early winter, the days are clear and we can see far into the distance. From Valbrona, one can see the branch of Lake Lecco, from Onno to Limonta, up to Bellagio. Beyond the lake stands the Grigna mountain. For those who live here, the Grigna is the backdrop of everyday life and the last thing one sees as the sun sets. Among these mountains, many have lived by raising cattle since the time of the Celts, before the Romans. At Conca de Crezzo, a company raises chamois-coloured goats and bees to make cheese and honey.
For 15 years, we have lived in Conca di Crezzo, in the Lariano Triangle, and we have heard of dairy goats. They are chemi-colored goats from the Alps with their typical brown coat and black legs. Ours is an extensive breeding process, and today we have 30 or 40 heads of cattle. Each head produces about 3 liters of milk per day. Milking is done in the morning and in the evening for a long period of time. At the moment the buck is in the stable, the goats are on heat and are therefore starting to produce little milk. Instead, in the spring, there is a lot of milk and we perform numerous processes. With the milk, we produce fresh and seasoned cheeses, yogurt, and other products which we then use in our agritourism and farmhouse. The freshly milked milk which arrives from the stable is taken to the dairy and poured through this funnel with a paper filter. This filters from the impurities of the stable. After the milk is filtered, 2 types of processing can take place. The first is lactic processing, which creates soft cheeses, which are typical of this area. Cow's milk caprino cheese is typical of the Larian Triangle. We obviously produce it with goat's milk. When the quantity of milk increases during the spring and summer season, we begin to process it using the rennet, producing Formagella and Taleggio cheeses. In this way, we produce cheeses that are left to mature in cells. This is the cell where the cheeses are aged. Cheeses that are made during spring and summer until mid-October.
Among these mountains first came the Celts, then the Romans, the Lombards and the Franks, the Visconti and the Sforza, and then the Spaniards. The Pizzo dei Tre Signori was so called because it marked the border between the Valtellina, dominated by Swiss Grisons, the lake, dominated by the Duchy of Milan, and the valleys of Bergamo, which belonged to the Republic of Venice. But here, since time began, many have raised cattle and lived off the produce of the land, whose flavours tell the stories of these mountains. They work in the sun, starting in the morning and ending in the evening, when the shadows lengthen over the mountains. It is a clear evening on the lake, as we taste goat cheese with chestnut honey, or we put the buckwheat polenta on the fire, or we drink Valtellina wine, admiring the snowy peak of Sasso Manduino.